What's up guys, welcome to Vintage Genetics, where it is all about classic bodybuilding, and today I'm going to show you a back workout that I did at the new gym, Fox Gym in Den Bosch, the Netherlands. So this is the second time I actually went there. The first time was for an event for a charity for animals, and this time is the official opening, and you will see throughout this video how busy it really is here. And it's always nice if a gym, a serious hardcore gym near you opens, you always want to check it out. So the first machine we're actually doing, the first exercise, is a rowing machine, and it's a hoist machine. And honestly, it was pretty much the only back machine that was available for us to use. I'm working out with my dad, who is working out right here in this scene, as you can see. But this machine is pretty awesome, even though it didn't go heavy enough, because you will see with the last set with a full weight I was still able to do a full set. But that's the benefit, and at the same time the disadvantage of hoist machines. You can really connect to the muscle, really feel a full range of motion here as your body is moving along with the movement that you're doing, you know, with your arms. As you go backwards, your body goes forward a little bit, allowing you to fully contract the back, which is very important when you're doing a rowing movement. So for me, my back isn't necessarily a weak point, but it's not a strong point either. And I noticed that in most classic physique competitions, the winner does have an incredible back. Especially when Brian was Miss Olympia, obviously everybody wanted to have a great back. Also with George Peterson being third place in the world with an extraordinary back. Now with Chris Bumstead as a winner, he basically won because he's the most aesthetic guy with the best flow and very good conditioning. But still, there are some very good guys out there that have an incredible back. And Alex Cabinero, if I said his name correctly, and Ralph Diesel, both of those guys who placed first and second at the Arnold Classic, both have an amazing back. So I gotta keep working on it. And for me, the width isn't a problem, it's mostly the thickness, and that takes time, that takes bodybuilding. And what bodybuilding to me is, it's consistency, patience, and discipline. Especially patience, because even though we are working out super hard, you might not see any difference for quite a while, until one day you look at yourself in the mirror and you look at your back and you see, wow, I have made some improvements indeed. And here you can, by the way, see how busy it really is. So we just did the Hoist Machine Row, which actually felt pretty good, and I pretty much, you know, let it be a warm-up for the rest of the workout, because I wasn't able to do it heavier. So I basically did 15 reps at the last set, squeezing as hard as I can. And then we're going on to the T-bar row, chest supported. And trust me, it seems like every plate-loaded machine in this gym feels twice as heavy as what I'm used to, because even this weight already, and I believe this is 50 kilos, feels incredibly heavy. And here in my own gym, at the rowing machine that I have here, it's also plate loaded, but I'm able to do like 160 kilograms. So this machine is more than twice as heavy compared to the machine I have at my own gym. But still, nonetheless, I love chest supported machines, as it allows you to really pull back your shoulder blades and push your chest, or your stomach in my case, against the support, and then you're able to really push back those shoulders, those shoulder blades, and retract them and really contract those back muscles, which is what you want to do when you're doing a rowing exercise. So I went pretty heavy here, but the most important thing is never go too heavy on a back rowing exercise, because if you do, you're not able to fully pull back those elbows, and if you're not able to do that, you're not able to do a full contraction. And without a full contraction on the back, you're not able to make it grow as it should. So on set number 4, because the previous set felt pretty heavy, I did a back offset with less weight, really focusing on the full range of motion, basically focusing on the perfect form. So going all the way down, stretching the lats, and then going all the way up until I feel my rhomboids contract to really fill that back up with blood. So now that we did a few rowing exercises, it's time for a pull down. Now I always will include a pull down in any back workout, and honestly, back when I started out for pretty much 7 years straight, I always started with a lat pull down variation, whether it was a hammer grip pull down or a simple lat pull down behind the neck or in front to the chest. Always a lat pull down variation, and it did give me quite wide lats. So that's why I always advise to at least do 1 or 2 pull down exercises in your workout to work on the lat width, the V taper. Who doesn't want an incredible V shape, which is pretty much the dream of every guy who starts working out, is to have a big chest, big arms, but also that V shape. Anyway, what I'm doing here is really making sure that I go all the way up and stretch those lats to the max, because when you stretch them, that's where the growth occurs. And here my dad is doing the same weight as me, is pretty much doing the same weight on every single exercise that I'm doing, because his back is actually one of his strong points. So whatever I do in terms of weight for my back, he simply does the same, which is pretty awesome to have a workout partner that's your own dad, who is also as strong as you on most of the exercises when it's back day. So this will be my last set on the lat pull downs. This will be the heaviest ones. So what I'm really trying to focus on here is keep the form intact, but as you can see, when you're doing a much lighter weight, there is no upper body rocking at all. But sometimes when you're hitting a heavier weight, you have to slightly adjust the upper body a little bit to be able to pull down the weight low enough for a full back contraction. And that's the way the form changes a little bit when you're going too heavy. There's nothing wrong with it, but just recognize that it does. What I also like to do for back is unilateral movements. In pretty much every back workout that I do, I like to do a unilateral movement, and this one is the row, obviously the seated chest supported row. And here I'm starting out with the right side, because for me, whether it's the right or left side, the strength in my back is pretty much the same. But if you know that your left lat is weaker or smaller, definitely start out with the left side so you're able to more easily balance both sides, because a lot of people ask me what can I do about imbalanced muscles, and that is putting exercises like this in your workout plan and then starting out with the weakest part of your back and then doing that and then matching the reps with the strong side to balance out the strength and ultimately the muscle mass in both sides. So what you want to focus on here is, again, get that full stretch in the lats whenever the machine allows you to. Not every single machine allows you to go all the way in a stretched position, because some machines aren't built, in my opinion, correctly. Because if they are built correctly for a back exercise, you need to be able to fully stretch those lats, which I'm able to do here, because then you also work on the back width. And when you then go all the way backwards, which a unilateral movement enhances, the contraction will be amazing. And with that amazing contraction, you will get much better growth in that part of the back. So what I'm feeling here is when I'm going to the stretched position, what I'm feeling there is literally the lat pulling on my spine almost, really that entire region of the back, I feel it pulling. But when I pull inwards, so when I contract the back, I feel my lower back contract as well as the lower lats, which is what I actually want to work on. And by the way, on the lat pull down I did before this one, you're able to go so low that you're also hitting those lower lats. So that's why it's also a nice tie-in to do this exercise afterwards. And then it is time for a nice rear delt dumbbell fly. What I like to do here is really focus on those rear delts. So picking a super heavy weight, that's no use. You can see my traps and my whole back, my upper back being involved But that happens automatically when you want to fully contract the rear delt, as the shoulder joint simply needs to move, and then your shoulder blades move, and then the traps seem to be involved. But I purposely and consciously don't contract the traps, I contract the rear delt. So when I'm going up, what I'm focusing on, what I'm really trying to find, is that peak contraction in the rear delts. If you're not able to feel this, pick a lighter weight and then try to search for that feeling. It's all about mind-muscle connection here, which is how I've been able to construct, to build, to craft, to sculpt a nice pair of rear delts. And for me, that really was a point of focus back a few years ago when I did rear delts pretty much 4 times a week. I did them whenever I did the back. I also did shoulder separately, and in total that's like 3 to 4 times a week that I trained the rear delts. Now it's pretty much once a week to maintain them, and they grow really quickly for me. So what I like to do is every time I do a back workout, the last exercise is going to be a focus on the rear delts, because you already automatically work those rear delts when doing other exercises, especially rowing exercises. So you might as well finish them off using a rear delt isolation movement. And then of course, as we have finished the back workout, it's time to finish it off with some bicep work. I want to improve my biceps by quite a lot, especially at the peak, and I feel a better connection in the biceps when I start out with an exercise with one arm at a time. It makes it much easier to focus on a good, perfect bicep contraction, to really get into the bicep instead of just moving the weight from A to B, because when you're doing biceps, it's really not about the weight. The weight matters, but it's not the #1 priority. The priority is being able to go through a full range of motion, feel constant tension on the bicep, and really get a good mind-muscle connection, especially when you're fully contracting the bicep. Why am I saying that this is the most important thing? Because then you are actually engaging only the muscle that you need to work, instead of the shoulders or front delts. Some people even feel it more in their forearms. No, what you want to feel is that the bicep is the limiting factor in this movement, that you can really focus on only contracting that, and that's when you start adding the weight to add more mechanical tension inside the muscle and cause growth. So here the weight is steadily going upwards. I always like to warm up with a light weight of the biceps, because the tendon that you see right here connecting the biceps to the forearms, at least to me, which is called the distal bicep tendon, is really sensitive. So if you go way too heavy right away, and if you overstretch the biceps, which means overextending when you're going all the way down, you put really a lot of pressure and a lot of stress on the tendon and not as much on the muscle. And if the tendon hurts, you're not going to be able to really work that muscle anymore, which is a nightmare for a bodybuilder, which I actually endured for a long time. Approximately 1.5 years ago, I wasn't really able to work my left bicep because I constantly felt like bicep tendonitis, which was horrible. So that's why I always like to advise to you guys, warm up the biceps. And when you're doing a back exercise, really work the exercises with your elbows. Focus on pulling the elbows and not pulling with the arms. So if you really focus on that, you will notice that your biceps aren't as much involved in the back movements, and you will actually use the back to work those movements, which is supposed to be the case. But a lot of people actually injure the biceps when doing a back exercise. So when that's in check and you're starting out with a lighter weight during a bicep exercise, you will be golden. And on top of that, it will increase volume, it'll increase the pump, it'll increase the amount of blood in the muscle, which will, in my opinion, ultimately increase muscle growth. So after finishing the movement unilaterally, I just went on to do it with both arms at the same time, starting out with the weight that was the heaviest weight that I left on at the last set of the unilateral movement. So that's a pretty neat way to actually progress in weight. After doing the last exercise, simply use the heaviest weight again, the last weight you pretty much use, and then use both arms to continue to do the exercise. Now, doing it with both arms actually hits the biceps from a slightly different angle, a slightly different way of hitting the biceps. The movement is almost the same but slightly different, which is what most bodybuilding exercises is all about. For example, doing regular squats or front squats, hack squats, Smith machine squats, they're all squats but hit the quads slightly differently, which is how you can actually build fully developed quads. The same goes for any other muscle group. You do a lot of different exercises that hit the muscle from slightly different angles to get the most complete development of the given muscle. And here I am finishing off the biceps with 21. So 21 reps, but not 21 complete reps. As you can see, I first did 7 reps at the bottom, then I did 7 reps at the top, and now I'm doing 7 complete reps. And the trick is using the exact weight that you can do just about 21 reps with, which is what this weight was exactly. So this video was actually recorded with a new camera. Obviously, the lens that I put on the camera isn't perfect yet. I have purchased another one which allows a wider view of, you know, me doing the exercises and simply seeing more on the camera itself. So in advance, I'm already telling you that the quality will be even better. But it's all thanks to you that I'm able to invest back into the channel. So also another reason why I haven't posted other videos, maybe you've heard, but I've been having a pretty nasty cold. And no, it has nothing to do with the virus going on right now. It simply has to do with me having a cold, which happens sometimes, and then I'm not really able to talk properly. Anyway, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. Lots more videos are coming, and don't forget to stay golden.